in that podcast dedicated to William, I'll discuss the theories, which are my theories alone. And I'll leave it up to you, the listeners and the viewers, to make up your own minds about that case. Now, moving forward, little Dylan was described by his grandfather as an active boy. The grandfather also told press agencies that Dylan liked to play games with them, so hide and seek, he liked to hide. So initially, the grandfather was just hoping he had gone off and hidden somewhere, which kids do. They do. They think it's hilarious. When you're running around screaming their names, they think it's funny. Usually you'll hear them chuckle while you're having a heart attack looking for them. Might have done it. It just, yeah. So when he was last seen, he was wearing camouflage pants, blue rubber boots, and a winter coat with US flags printed on them. So they were able to identify if they saw him, little Dylan. So the search for the river that day, it turned up nothing. So they needed to change their way of thinking and searching, but they just kept going with this theory. And they wouldn't. It's like the John Benet Ramsey case. You know, the police were so dedicated, and they were so set that the family had done it, which we will get to that, because let me tell you, I got my theories. They were so on the family that they could never, which they should have been, by the way. They wouldn't bring themselves to investigate anything else. They wouldn't bring themselves to, it was a weird case though, to go outside that. And the same thing's happening here with Dylan, I believe. So the police in the area put a post up on Facebook that day stating having civilians on site to search could potentially lead to destruction of evidence or tracks, which 100% accurate. I agree with 100%. And I know that people want to help, and I know that people want to just find this little boy, but unless you're trained in search and rescue and how to preserve evidence, it's never a good idea to have civilians in a search such as this. But they did ask the residents to search their properties top to toe to see if the little boy was anywhere in sight, which you would, and they did, but there was no sign of him. So later in that evening, the search found, one of the searchers found one of Dylan's boots, his little rubber boots, on the riverbank close to the grandparents' house. River theory again, I know. But there are conflicting reports on this boot. One report says searchers found it, another said a fire department found it. One report said there was 2, one report said there was 1. So it just felt like all the reporters, the seasoned reporters, the ones that know their job and know what to do, it just felt like they were all on lunch, and the inexperienced ones had taken control. But that's just me. But this boot, or boots, I'm pretty sure it was a boot. I read more articles saying it was 1 rather than 2. It's the only evidence they have. At least it's the only evidence they've told the public about. So I also read, see, this is where I get frustrated, because once again, reports are screwed up, because I've read that earlier in the day the boot wasn't there. They had searched that area. The boot wasn't there. Yet later that night it was. So someone must have put it there. They've heard, let's go with kidnapping just as a theory right now. So if someone's kidnapped this boy and they hear that there's a boot left, or they've heard that they're searching the river, well, then that's just easy for them to plant the boot, isn't it? They plant it, no one knows that he was kidnapped. These theories just, keep coming. So he could have been kidnapped and it could have been placed there. There's been speculation that the father put it there. But none of that has been further investigated on, or the police haven't come forward to say that, yes, this is foul play. So someone knows something. Someone must know something, or someone has seen something. But with the boot, even if they went there during the day and the water level was lower, was higher during the day than at night, the boot wouldn't just sit there. It was a fast running river. So the boot, there's no ways that the boot would have been still in that location next to the grandparents' house. So now a lot of people think that the parents had something to do with this disappearance, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Usually I have a gut instinct, a gut feeling on these kinds of things, but I really don't with this one. I do wholeheartedly believe that there was a third party involved. Maybe a predator living in the area. Maybe he was picked up just by someone because it was an opportunity to do so. However, I highly doubt that in this case, because kidnappings by strangers are just so rare. They only take up, in over a year, 10% of kidnappings of children are done by strangers. 90% are done by someone that knows them, and someone that knows the family, which is absolutely fascinating, because I used to think that it was the absolute opposite, that strangers were picking up these kids, but the numbers, I guess, don't lie. But this is America too. But Australia's numbers were pretty similar, something like 12% or something like that. 12% of kidnappings in Australia, and 88% are family members. So it blew my mind when I first initially started investigating these kinds of things a few years back. And the numbers haven't really changed over the years either. They might go up 1%, down 1%, but it's never dramatic, it's never drastic. So at the time of his disappearance, unfortunately, the river they were searching had high levels, and it was so quick moving, so quick and rapid, which only means that if he had fallen into that river, his body would have possibly travelled kilometres, miles, whatever you want to go with, but kilometres here in Australia. So if it was as fast as the claims that I have read, then the kid could be anywhere. Firefighters did the river search, but they came up empty-handed as well. They went in with the dive team to help. So it was in this time that Dylan's mother, Ashley, posted to Facebook that night that the boots had been found. She then went on to express her thanks to all the people that were continuing to search for her boy. Quote, "Every officer, rescue team member, volunteers, family, friends, and every other person who is praying for us, thank you. It gives us comfort to know that all of these people who don't know me nor my family are out looking with every tool they have." So, end quote. As you can imagine, early in the search, people canvassed the the police canvassed the neighbourhood as well as the residents. They scoured every inch of the surrounding areas of the grandparents' house, and they came up with nothing. But unfortunately, a week after the search began, the police decided that it was now turning into a recovery mission. So they just were expecting a dead body and nothing else. So amazingly, see, this is what gets amazing. Nothing else has been found, according to police, at this period of time. So a week after. So there were no leads and no new press conferences. There was a few articles in a few different papers, but that was it. There are press conferences that I will bring up as we go along, but the majority of these press conferences took place in the first week. So it just feels like, it feels like everybody's given up. I know that the police are putting some sort of effort in, but as a civilian, even though I live in Australia, it just feels like the whole case has died. It feels like everyone was in for this search effort in the beginning and got bored. That's the only way I can put it. It sounds horrible, but they were bored of this. But shortly after his disappearance, his parents went on to hold an interview. Oh, here's that interview for you.
A cash reward will be offered to anyone who brings 3-year-old Dylan Ehler home safe and alive. A plea from the boy's heartbroken parents.
Please bring him home because I need him.
We miss him.
He's everything.
We love him. He has a happy life here at home, and he deserves to be here at home with us. So please bring him home.
The toddler was last seen in his grandmother's yard in Truro on the afternoon of May 6. She turned away for a moment and Dylan was gone. She immediately called for help, and within minutes, neighbors and police were scouring the area. His parents say the details don't add up.
There was a few neighbors that went directly to the river. So before the cops even showed up, it was 4 minutes, so they were there within a minute or two to the river, and then 7 p.m. or the times that the boots were found were at nighttime. So who says that somebody didn't throw them in the water?
An extensive search on land and in the water was launched in the days that followed. A helicopter, drones, underwater cameras, just some of the technology used. But there was no sign of Dylan, and his parents fear their son may have been abducted.
There was no signs of him, no footprints, I don't believe that he went in the water that fast. It's pretty hard to believe.
Police say this is an active missing persons case, and investigators continue to update the family and follow any leads and tips that come in. The reward is being funded by the family's GoFundMe page.
We hope that this will, get somebody to speak up, to bring him home, to try a little harder to find him, because we want him home.
$10,000 will be rewarded to anyone who brings Dylan back alive and safe. $1,000 will be offered for information that directly leads to his whereabouts. His parents are desperately hoping this will bring Dylan home.